Hello, today I'm going to show you 6 hidden redstone inputs that you can use to activate your contraptions. They can be used to open up your secret base or set off a trap. And all of these builds work in Bedrock Edition and should be indistinguishable from the area around it. Redstone Torch Keys have been a popular way to activate contraptions on Java Edition. Unfortunately, these torch keys rely on quasi-connectivity, which doesn't exist in Bedrock. As a result, our torch key is going to use different mechanics and unfortunately will be a little bit more limited. To get started, we want to place a sticky piston with 2 blocks in front of it, place redstone dust on top of these blocks, and place 3 blocks like so. Replace the middle block with a redstone torch, and then place a copper bulb back here and take the comparator output. The Redstone Dust Key is a variation of the Redstone Torch Key where instead the torch is always there, and redstone dust is the variable part of the circuit. Unlike the Torch Key, the Dust Key doesn't need a block above it to activate, which gives you a lot more flexibility. To build this, we're going to want to place a sticky piston with 2 blocks and a redstone torch out the back. We're going to then place a redstone torch into the bottom block and off the side of the piston, which will then go into a copper bulb, and we want to take the comparator output of that. Shovel key triggers by turning dirt into a path block. Since a path block is not a full block, redstone does not travel through this, and we can use that to advantage. To build this, we want to place a redstone torch going into a dirt block, and from that dirt block, we want to place a sticky piston with a redstone block in front of it. Then, we want to place a copper bulb next to that block, and then take the comparator output. Also, side note, this input can also be triggered by tilling dirt into farmland, since farmland is also not a solid block. But we can also build this with an observer instead. Instead of placing a redstone torch going into the dirt block, place an observer from the dirt block that goes into another block, and then a sticky piston on top. Place a copper bulb next to the block, and then take the comparator output. A redstone key triggers by throwing an item on the ground, but first we need to know that hoppers cannot pick up items through solid blocks. However, items can get picked up by a hopper minecart through solid blocks. So to get started, we are going to need to place any storage container with a hopper going into it. Take the comparator output of the hopper and run it into a copper bulb. Take the comparator output, crouch and place a minecart rail on top of the hopper, place a minecart hopper on top of the rail, and place a block above that, which will be the block that you throw the item down on. I would also recommend that you place blocks around the hopper minecart so the minecart doesn't move. Unfortunately, this generic item detector can detect any stackable item that is thrown on the ground. This can leave it prone to accidental discovery, like if a random sapling fell on the ground. To fix this, we can add an item filter. To build a specific item detector, we need to start by placing a storage container with a hopper going into it as before, and take the comparator output of the hopper, run it into 2 redstone dust, and then run that dust into a target block or piston, either works, and place a redstone torch powering the hopper. Place another hopper with a rail on top of it, and a minecart hopper on top of that, and then place a block above the rail. Once again, this will be the block that you throw the item down on. Choose what item you want to detect, and place 22 of them in the hopper. What you want to do is place at least 18 in the first slot, and then the other 4 in the other slots, so that way no other item could fill up the hopper. Then we are going to want to place a copper bulb next to a redstone torch and take the comparator output. This design is actually inspired by part of the PvP community where the act of breaking the bottom of a tree would kill the player, which kind of makes you think twice before chopping down your next tree. The idea is that a permanent block such as the bottom of a tree can have a powered lever hidden below it that is connected to a redstone torch. When the lever is removed, the redstone torch no longer receives power and ignites the TNT. However, since the advent of the observer, this contraption is even simpler. We can just have an observer below the permanent block that powers the TNT upon the block being destroyed. But we can adopt this design and use it to power something else like the entrance to a secret base. We can actually place inputs behind stairs. There are many different orientations that stairs can have, and each of them comes with their own unique hitbox. However, when we update the orientation of the stair by placing another stair next to it, the hitbox of the stair doesn't update to match the new orientation. We can use this to our advantage by placing a stair such that we see the side of the stair, and then we place another stair to hide the input. And those are 6 ways to hide redstone inputs in your world. And if you've ever built your own type of redstone key, I'd love to see what you come up with down in the comments. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.